As per YouTube's community guidelines states, these videos are for a 21-year-old audience and above. If you're underage, politely just go away.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mr. Sensi, and I've got a very special guest today, all the way from Gisborne in New Zealand. We've got Porou Tawhiwhirangi. Did I say that right?
Yep, Porou Tawhiwhirangi, but yes, good effort.
Beautiful. And yeah, you're from Rua BioScience. I looked you guys up. It's some amazing work, and it's really cool to see an Indigenous owned company and run by Indigenous people. For anyone who isn't familiar with Māori culture or anything like that, they're very charitable people. And it's just so good to see you guys that well organized that you've gotten to where you are. So let's start with, I suppose, where did your story begin before Rua, or what you're happy to talk about, or
Yeah, I'm happy to share everything.
yeah.
Yeah, so kia ora everyone. My story, you know, young fella, saw cannabis, I think 9 years old in the ashtray of my brother's car. Didn't really care about it. And I think about when I went to secondary school or college, at the age of 13 was the first time I tried it with my friends, and from there, dabbled in it, never got addicted. Like, they say young people get addicted to it, or it'll damage your frontal lobe of your brain, stuff like that. But I didn't get into it heavily, and I think when I was about 17, 18, that's when I started purchasing, what we'd call tinnies, $20 tin foils of cannabis, from gang members of the Highway 61 motorcycle club. And we used to roll up there in school uniform and that, and score a couple of tinnies at lunchtime and get stoned on the riverbank, and then go back to school and just have a great time. Um, and then um, when I left school, I had a couple of friends whose dad used to grow cannabis, and they used to go with their dad. And so where we lived in Wellington, behind our house was a whole lot of bush, and so I learnt with a couple of my bros the basics. And the following year, I was approached by a family member who wanted me to go with them for a season and grow outdoor cannabis, as a guerrilla grower, sneak into other people's land. This land at the time was the government's land, crown confiscated land, and so that was that person's way of saying "f you" to the government
Yeah.
and whatnot at that time. And the purpose was to go to help them do it, to raise money to fund one of our other family members' operation for cancer. And that was in 1995. So
Yeah,
that was my
yeah.
introduction into going out there and growing and supply for to actually help someone out. So that person now is 88 years old, so from that operation, from that risk that we took back then, helped her.
That's
From
amazing.
then, yeah, it's a we don't let her know that particular lady, because she was and still is anti-cannabis. So
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think if
yeah.
she found out the truth of that, um, But it was worth, like, when I look back at it now, it was a good way for me to start getting into it. And um, I think the year after that, got into some dumb shit, as you do as 19,
Oh
19,
yeah,
20-year old. And I got banished by my family back to the East Coast, so to a place called Ruatoria, which was a mecca for growing cannabis. So I just learnt this skill, came back to an area that was predominantly cannabis growers risking everything to grow here. And so I slotted in with my newfound skill, and um, being banished back up here, I used that to help support my family from there onwards. Like, we
yeah,
had
yeah,
four kids under the age of five, and we needed to sort of make ends meet. And that little skill that I learnt, even though it was considered illegal, the pros of it were helping my family survive a little bit better. Trying to provide for four kids, and as they go through school, and trying to give them everything they wanted, but also protect them from the criminal element of what I was doing to provide for them. So,
yeah,
went into that sort of thing. Evolved with the cannabis culture up here. Like, through that particular time I was growing, we saw the evolution of the indicas coming in, and then the importation of genetics from the Dutch passions of their time,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, the
All the
seed breakers, like
classics.
all the classics.
Yeah,
And at that time, the classic genetics back then they were awesome, they were dominant, they were close to what they came out as. So we saw a lot of benefits in the economy here on the East Coast, where you've got a whole lot of people living in an area that's struggling, and then these really good genetics come in, whether it was Afghani or what are the strains that came here, Silver Pearl, um, the the Durban
yeah, yeah,
poisons,
yeah, yeah,
the bubble gums, all
yeah,
these dominant flavors, indicas and sativas that were coming in, that were representations of countries in the world. It built a thriving economy here, where we saw a
yeah,
lot of people, and even the outcomes and people's attitudes, and that, like, people weren't fighting, they were sharing cannabis, and they were
yeah.
sharing the profits of what they were growing with each other and the community. So from the what was termed by the police the criminal fraternity that we all lived in, we could see the benefits of what cannabis does for our communities.
And it's and
Um,
it's
and
it's it's crazy because I've seen in multiculture that cannabis, not everywhere, but generally speaking, cannabis isn't demonized as much as say Pakia. You know what I mean? And you've got, you go to a barbecue and you'll have whatever auntie or uncle rolling a joint or whatever, and it's not a big deal. Do you know what I mean? Um, and then yeah, in other cultures they've demonized it a whole lot more. So it's yeah, it's crazy because your country has a very New Zealanders call it P. To everyone else in the world, like methamphetamine or whatever, they have a serious problem with that drug there, that is really destroying homes every day. And you've got this other thing, cannabis, that's never hurt anyone, that's natural and grown in the ground, and they're putting it on the same level. So yeah, it's crazy.
it's pretty ironic you brought that up, because if you look back at the history of crack cocaine in the
Yeah,
states, I think that's like the late '80s, around that sort of time frame. And if you look at at not long into the '90s, they came into the chronic, what they deemed the
yeah,
chronic, all those indicas and stuff were coming in, predominantly gone away from sativas. So, and in America, we saw the evolution of, whether you call it addiction or whatever, more the Americans went towards the cannabis. like an exit drug.
Yeah,
And if I think like, and I always say this, that when I look at the evolution of rap music in America, at that time of the crack cocaine, it was all gangster rap. It was
yeah,
all of talking about killing and all this sort of shit. And I've got these guns and we represent this hood. And then when they started getting into the indica, you started seeing the G funk, the Warren G's, and next minute they all
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
they just they all chilled out.
yeah,
They're like, but in their raps and that, they're still warning. They're saying, you think we haven't still got our guns? We
yeah,
still
yeah,
got them,
yeah,
but we all just like we're cruising. So
yeah,
when I look at the meth epidemic here, I wish we could, as a country, be educated and approach it in that same way that other drugs,
yeah,
whether
yeah,
it's cannabis or whether it's psilocybin or magic
yeah.
mushrooms, that we can actually use these things as whether it's microdosing or whatever to try and get our people off those harsher addictions. So
Well,
that it's trying
it,
to think like that.
it's funny you said that because and no, I agree. I think I actually think a lot of psychedelics, not all, have a therapeutic use to them. Definitely, even medicinal. Like there's a lot of high functioning people out there that swear by microdosing mushrooms. Um, Not just that, a lot of people. I was going to nearly said it. I won't say who. A lot of people I know, I know one person that's gone to South America to do a couple ayahuasca ceremonies, and they were just blown away. It completely changed them for the better. I myself, I've had mushrooms. Don't agree with my stomach. Um, as soon as I have them, I just straight back up. Um, but I've had DMT, and DMT has really helped. How do I explain it? Restructure the way I was before. I had a similar background to you, and I knocked around with a few rough people, and I thought I was Mr. Gangster at one stage, and like stuff like that. DMT really takes your ego away. You know what I mean? And really lets you see the world for what it is. That and becoming a dad for me, anyway. But yeah, nah, I think yeah, mushrooms and that should. I believe I could be wrong. There are a couple clinics in Australia where you can legally go and actually have microdosing with a psychologist or something. There, I can't remember. And even what is it, ketamine? So it's crazy because you push these drugs onto a black market and they get thrown in the bag with crack cocaine, heroin, and you name it. You know what I mean? And a pot dealer might be selling pot for a while, but then might end up selling all this other shit too, and getting involved in stuff they shouldn't be involved in. So I think it's great legalization or at least decriminalization. Um, I don't like the bit that I don't like about legalization though is that grip that the government has now on the farmers and the dispensaries and they're just grabbing their tax from every single corner they can. You know what I mean? And they at this stage, I get it. It's a new thing. There's going to be a learning curve, but from what I've seen in Australia, in America, in New Zealand, all over the world, they're just looking for the next tax grab. They're not really trying to put a thoughtful approach into legalization. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, totally agree. We saw with the medicinal cannabis scheme in New Zealand, like they, went from illegal one day to now it's legal, but with no education and with the amount of people that just went out there and assumed that, oh, now that I'm a patient, I can smoke my medication on the side of the road.
yeah,
That kind of stuff, and then they're getting in trouble. So, yeah, we're a country that, like many countries, I think the intention in the corporate side was to try and get down on what the the unsanctioned market, the
Yeah,
black
yeah,
market,
yeah, yeah,
what it had,
yeah, yeah,
and um, unfortunately, that was the wrong way to sort of come into it, like thinking about money, and that was the right at the beginning. This is coming right back to Rua BioScience now. Is that right in the beginning, the founders, their their morals and values of what they set this industry up to be, or what they envisioned it to be, wasn't about that. It was about uplifting people, healing people,
yeah,
and it was promoted by um, their backing at the time was an area where people would have dreadlock here, and so it was that swinging dreadlocks from the whenua, or from the earth people,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
that really led the way into it before the big corporate race began,
yeah,
over money, dictated by money. And because it was dictated by money over values, we just saw how it was set up wrong. And one of the most common things I say is that all we did is legalize white collar drug dealing in our country instead of
yeah,
getting it right.
yeah, yeah. And I think there's so many different structures all over the world. Like even if you go to Netherlands, like in Amsterdam, where it's one of the most famous spots in the world. Technically, I was talking to someone. Technically, they can't even show where they get their pot from. Like if you go to a cafe and ask them where do you get your ship from? This is amazing. They'll tell you, oh, I don't know. It's just at the back door when I get here in the morning. You know what I mean? Like, um, I believe Germany is having a good crack at it, and I think they're working at pretty well. Um, but Australia, look, Australia, as far as the medical industry goes, I'm not going to throw anyone on the bus. I won't name any names, but I have been to a very big facility, and I wasn't very impressed about the approach that they had. And even from a patient's point of view, because I've been a patient for medical here for not long, about probably 6 months to a year. Look, you can call up. They're like a telehealth thing, cannabis thing in Australia. You can call them up, and in under 10 minutes, oh wow, I'm a patient. They won't let you pick what you want to smoke. They'll tell you what you want to smoke, and that's because they've got the grower, and they're getting it at a special price. If you wanted to go the right way, like I did, I went to my local GP. I sat down with them. I was just honest about it, and just said, "Look, this is why I want to go to a cannabis clinic." They wrote me a referral. I went there. I sat down with a doctor at the clinic, who was actually from New Zealand, and she was real cool. Like she said to me, you don't need to lie about anything. I'll ask you questions like, how long have you been smoking? If you've been smoking since you were a kid, just tell me. No one's gonna, slap you on your wrist or anything. And look, I did that, and the clinic side was good, but then I went into the dispensary, and it's like one dispensary is charging $150 for 10 grams of one product, and then the next dispensary is charging $80. And it's like, if you don't know any better, you're going to get absolutely ripped off. Um, and all the people that I've seen that are going to make the money in Australia are the dispensaries, not the farmers. I've spoken to farmers over here. They're barely keeping their doors open.
Yeah, the growers are getting screwed. In New Zealand, if they could, they'll purchase the product for anything under $2 a gram.
Yeah,
And by the time if we have to try to get a product back into New Zealand market, by the time it goes over to Oz, gets irradiated, gets packaged, passes all the quality specs,
yeah,
everyone's clipping the ticket on it, and the price of that gram just keeps rising and rising and rising. And the customer, or the patient at the end of the day, is faced with that product. But also, not only them, the company that like say if it was us trying to get a product to come all the way back around to New Zealand,
Yeah,
it's ramped up in price by everyone that ticked that box more or less, and
yeah,
so the customers are the ones suffering. And the reality is that the price of cannabis does need to come down, but it shouldn't be the growers that keep taking the hit.
yeah,
Especially if
yeah.
they're growing a quality product. It's devaluing our growers, but we see that in the agricultural sector too. Like the farmers are getting screwed. They'll get cents for their head of broccoli, and yet it'll be sold on the shelf at a supermarket chain for up to $3. And
I
when it's
don't know how
yeah,
they make money. You know,
nah,
I think they're looking at I don't know about New Zealand, but I think in Australia they're looking at the cannabis industry the same way they looked at the tobacco industry. They're like, oh yeah, we're going to chuck a big tax on this and make a killing, and well, they pretty much are at the moment.
mm,
But like you said, it shouldn't be at the expense of the patient and the people that are growing it for them. Like we're in Australia, we're the highest taxed for tobacco. We're the highest taxed country in the world. It's actually ridiculous. My missus smokes ciggies and what was it? Now in Australia, we've got a massive problem. There's a giant black market industry now for tobacco because no one can afford legitimate tobacco. So it's kind of funny they're moving from legitimate to black market. I wonder if cannabis will do the same. You know what I mean?
mm, yeah, the tobacco market is huge. And when I recently went to the Middle East, and you fly into the airports there, the duty free, there's pallets of tobacco and cigarettes. And when I worked it out, like if I could have bought 600 cigarettes for the equivalent is nearly the price of a 50-gram tobacco pouch over here. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's crazy, and you wonder why a lot of the Middle Eastern culture is part of that black market on tobacco, is because in their own countries it's thriving with it.
Oh yeah. 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 And I mean, we believe it or not, we get excited when we go to New Zealand because New Zealand's way cheaper than Australia. Um, so I think it's upwards of $100 for a 50 gram, easy upwards of $100 for a 50 gram patch of tobacco here, which is interesting because yeah, we Australia and New Zealand used to have very similar cultures where they used to have that sort of pub culture. Everyone smokes cigarettes, everyone drinks beer, and now in Australia, we can't afford beer, we can't afford cigarettes. It's just gone through the roof. I suppose that's a positive outcome, but it's not positive when you're forcing someone. You know what I mean? Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I was talking to you the other day actually, and I think legalization is a real bonus for Māori people because if you look at the crime statistics, you know, Māori people are what 15% of the population in New Zealand, 15, 20 around there. And if you look at all the arrests for cannabis, it's like 65, 60% for cannabis. So it's almost like they're targeting them on stuff like that.
Yeah, um, I'm one of those statistics. I've been arrested for
Yeah,
cannabis twice. Twice carried two convictions that hindered myself from, when was that, the you know age of 20 onwards, and
yeah,
couldn't even get out of the country. Police do They are ethnically targeting who they choose to pursue with the complaint, and stuff like that. But in 2019 we had this amended misuse of cannabis bill that went through that gave police the discretion to do what they want to do, if they want to press charges or just let those people off with a warning.
yeah.
And we saw the arrests go down, in the last process and right at the beginning when this legal industry started, a lot of the other corporate companies that were trying to dictate it said that people like me or anyone with cannabis convictions couldn't come into this industry.
Yeah,
And I remember Rua at the beginning, um, one thing that made them unique, not only coming from where I came from, was that the story that they were portraying was essentially the story of myself and everyone else, your story, like
yeah,
everyone else's story that had actually been out there and grown cannabis, risking it.
yeah.
And because of them, they helped break that narrative of that was dictated that people like us couldn't be included. So Rua was the first ones to just say, "Hey, our story is built off the what they we call it the taumaha or the burdens that our
Yeah.
people have carried from having to grow cannabis." So yeah, you're right. You're right. There's still a lot of arrests happening now, and from this area where I am, you'd hear of the stories back in the day, and not just here, all around the world, of people being arrested with just crumbs of cannabis in their pockets, or a roach in the ashtray of the car, or just even smelling like it, and then being um, arrested for something else just to make an arrest. So it's a
Well,
common story.
in Australia, we're kind of lucky in a sense because we've got a thing called a cannabis caution. So if you get caught with anything up to a quarter of weed, they just give you a sheet of paper. It's a warning. I've been, all right, I don't know how many times, maybe 3 or 4 times. One time, I'm walking down to anyone from Australia, they'll know where it is. I'm walking down Fitzroy Street. It's like where all the clubs are and everything. And I was high as a kite, and I seen this couple. They were wearing hoodies, and they were walking a Labrador. And here's me, yeah, high as a kite, and I seen this Labrador, and I go, "Oh, hello." I patted the dog on the head. Anyway, it sits right next to me, and I thought, "Oh, that's nice." And the couple have gone, pulled out badges and gone, "Oh, we have reason to believe that you're carrying illicit drugs." And I'm like, "Holy shit!" I go, "Yeah, look, I do. I got a gram of weed." And fortunately, they took me back to the police car. They wrote me a cannabis caution. Literally threw the weed out the window, and sent me on my way. But in New Zealand, they don't get that luxury. But other yeah, there's it's look from what I've seen, I would have thought in a country with such a small population, and it's not like you're all living on top of each other. New Zealand's a lot bigger than people think. You know what I mean? Um, the government would have been able. The New Zealand government should have been able to sort this shit out a long time ago, with a lot of things. But there's you guys are in the top 5 countries in the world for most expensive real estate. I don't know how. You got land everywhere. You know what I mean? You're not running out of land. The food there, as good as it tastes, uh, is about twice the price of Australia. The petrol, nearly 3 times the price. Um, I don't know how people can. The average person, actually, I do know because my missus' family's over there. The average person over there is just working to give all their money away to expenses. You know what I mean? Like it's tough, but hopefully they'll sort it out one day. But I've like I think we are talking the other day how I try to watch. Um, I always get New Zealand politics come up on my phone, and I'll have a listen. And man, there's some crazy shit going on. Like they put all their effort into the dumbest shit. You know what I mean? Like where they could be putting into so many more important places.
Mm. Yeah, it's that's the burden of our people losing faith in our government, that they're not going to vote anymore, and then
Yeah,
idiots get in,
yeah,
and and then they start dictating. But like every country, we see that these politicians will talk through their ass
oh
and
yeah,
give you all the dreams and aspirations of what you want to hear, and then once they get in there, they toe whatever their party line is. And so one of the things we need to work on if we want to get um, cannabis across whatever line it's going to be here in New Zealand, representation of ministers that are pro cannabis. And when
Yeah,
I went to Oz a couple of years back, talking with one of the cannabis companies over there, they were saying that they have a list of MPs that they refer to like the Friends of Cannabis, and many MPs over there in Australia that are all pro cannabis. Like I saw a full sheet of at least
yeah,
40
yeah,
different names, different parties and representing different states. So
yeah.
that's what we need here in New Zealand is get that cross-party support. And because I'm always following, what's happening over in Oz and like the Cannabis Party pushing stuff over there. So it's all good educational stuff that we hope can influence our politicians that are keen on change to help push within their parties so they can get that going.
I think it's cut out for a sec. Oh wait, you cut out for 1 sec
You
there.
cut out for a little sec.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Um, no, but it's true. Yeah, especially in Victoria and New South Wales, there's a lot of pro cannabis members of parliament. The problem is with Australian politics, they've got the whole two-party thing going on where it's either Labor or Liberal. All the other parties don't stand a chance. Um, and if they've got something going on behind closed doors, then it's going to happen. Like a lot of Australians are really pissed off right now, actually, that we have all the biggest mining industries nearly in the entire world. Um, we have we surpassed Kuwait with natural gas. Um, we make has this. Our country makes more money on tax from beer than we do from natural gas. So you know, we've got so many things like coal, natural gas, steel, all these industries that we're not taxing foreign companies coming here. They're just pillaging our country, really, destroying the land, and not even paying tax on it. In fact, we bail out these companies all the time. So yeah, look, there's a lot of backward stuff going on, and we had we had a referendum. I remember it was like not even 10 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, to be separated from England. Somehow they voted no. We want to stay with England. It's like, well, what has England done for Australia or New Zealand for like 100 years? Do you know what I mean? And probably not good stuff. Um, so yeah, it's we live in a very I think that with the parliament and everything, they're very old fashioned. But yeah, it's unfortunately they're the hoops you got to jump through to get to where you want to be. You know what I mean?
Yep, definitely.
And for your, how long have you been working at Rua?
Geez, about 3 years now. I think. Oh, I started about, what was it, 4 years? Time goes by. They say one day is 7 days of your life,
Yeah.
or 1 year is 7 years of your life. And I've got grey hair. My teeth are falling out, so maybe that's an indication I've been here a little bit too long.
Yeah.
But then I think when my teeth is falling out, that they're trying to shut me up because I'm so vocal. Um, yeah, but yeah, 2021, I approached one of the founders and talked about, the possibility of getting into outdoor cultivation. Not myself, but I could see it progressing forward in New Zealand. There are other companies that are really looking into outdoor cultivation. And this industry, when it started and got rolling, they downplayed outdoor. They said it has to be indoor only and blah, blah, blah to make this medicine, which all makes sense, but
Yeah.
that's what was being dictated. And when I look at it, well, now we're undoing all that dictation that it should be indoor only. It should be, there should be sun grown in there and stuff like that. But
Definitely. Yeah.
um, yeah, I approached one of the founders, and then a contract came up between Rua BioScience and my own company, which is called East Coast Cannabis Company,
Yeah.
and they contracted me in to grow. At that time, they wanted some high THC and had some genetics, and I had some genetics, and essentially they wanted a 100 kilo outcome, and so I got a little bit of funding behind me from what's called our Ministry of Primary. Oh, hang on, I better get it right. They got so many ministry government
Yeah,
names. In New Zealand, we call it WINS. So it's just like you know, social welfare.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah. I've heard of them.
yeah, social welfare. Oh, so I'm not sure
Yeah,
what they call it over there. It's just a benefit system. But
like DHS we call it over here.
okay,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. Well, we went to them and essentially, got people off that benefit
yeah,
to come and work for us. So we got 4 young people. I think they were in the early 20s, so maybe 2021, and one of them was about 28. So four young people,
yeah,
and took them into their contract, and we were successful. We got the 100 kilos, but I remember in the beginning the price, was like, okay, what are you going to pay for, a gram? And it got down to I think the first offering was something like 40 cents a gram,
ah, come on.
and it was like, bro, it's going to cost me like 30K just to try and set up something to be successful to meet that outcome.
Yeah, yeah,
So in
yeah,
the end, like I took the contract to a few lawyers and who were family members,
yeah,
and
yeah,
they told me, don't do it. But I needed to do it to get my foot in the door,
yeah,
to prove to them, not prove to them, but to show them what I was trying to bring. And
yeah,
not that I was trying to bring my own agenda, was what I was sort of fighting for at the time, which was really the true pathway for our people to be involved in this industry when we were labeled as criminals before.
yeah,
And that was basically Rua's story. But I felt that my drive was the one trying to do that, actually bring that into fruition and show that it could work for our government departments to actually see, look, here are group of people that were labeled criminals that are transitioned into this industry and can learn to abide by the rules and regulations within
yeah.
it.
And are
Um,
capable as well. Yeah,
yeah, and are capable. So
yeah,
that was
yeah,
my whole drive to do that. So I disregarded um, the warnings of not to do it, and we went and did it. And thanks to that help from um, our I still can't even remember their proper government name.
yeah, yeah,
Um, but thanks to them, they were able to subsidize. They paid 70% of these guys' wages, and we as a business growing learned how to pay the rest of that, the ACC levies, blah, rah, rah, rah. And what what that idea was to do was to create an sustainable employment so that we could carry on and take these young people out of that benefit
yeah,
and
yeah,
carry them on. So that year, just as we were about to harvest, we got hit with this huge storm up here. We had 2 storms in I think it was January and February. And part of what we were also doing was we had a small scale market garden that we were building up for these young people we had to also help sustain income so that once their funding ran out, we could offer them something, And
yeah.
while we're doing that, we weren't even paying ourselves yet. These guys were the first workers. So the whole idea of like East Coast Cannabis Company was to make the sustainable income before you start paying, like, so for all these years I've worked
So
for it, I don't pay myself.
so that was all off. So that was all on you, but you were being contracted by Rua. Is that how it worked? Or
Yeah, that's
yeah, yeah,
how it all worked in the beginning. And then once we made an agreement with Rua, they started, all I had to do was give them a monthly invoice during that growing season,
yeah,
over the spring and summer to help me um, compensate any shortfall in earnings and stuff like that. So it worked out quite good.
yeah,
And when the storm came, I had to weigh up the option because our small market garden got devastated. Our outdoor grow got devastated, our outdoor cultivation, but we were contractually locked in, and there were more penalties if I couldn't meet the outcomes of that contract. So we
Yeah.
focused
Yeah.
on salvaging what we could. And in the end, we trumped up with our 100 kilos as a goodwill, and because we overhung up stuff that was dry, we chucked them an extra 40 kilos on top of that. That was actually the end of the drying container,
Yeah.
and then Rua being impressed with that, started setting up negotiations for the next season, and the next season would have tripled. Like they wanted triple the amount. They wanted, the idea at the time, and that's what it was. Just an idea at the time was 100 kilos of high THC, 100 kilos of CBD, 100 kilos of CBG,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so that was a good momentum for me to take my workers further, hire a couple more workers. All the time, still not paying myself. There was just well, this was the risk, like when you've come from illicit and you've potentially been like an entrepreneur there, what you need to do to run a business out of your own pocket. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you don't go blowing money on yourself. But
Yeah.
it was a good thing, and with the triple, the contract of triple, it still made it sustainable for me to try and like be involved in this. Unfortunately, before we got going, Rua BioScience restructured their company, and with that restructure went the chance of that contract.
Yeah.
But in return, Rua went and offered me a position to work for them. So they were restructuring for their reasons. They looked at the model that they were following in the industry at the time, and that
Yeah.
was the model that basically every cannabis company was following. And Rua could see early in that time that this is not the way. We're throwing money into a hole. This
Yeah.
is not ever going to be sustainable. So they pulled a restructure, and at that time, I think it was like 24 people ended up losing their jobs, but it had to be done. And
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
when when I was hired in, off that restructure, um, I questioned myself a lot. Like, why did they hire me? Did they hire me because I've been so proactive in all these years that, oh, here's a chance before it all falls over?
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, did they hire me to try and help save them? Um, I still don't know to this day. It's just how it is. But I'm loving the fact that they did take a chance to hire me, and I know that, and through all the influence I do pass on to them, or even times I rant and moan, they take it to heart and they listen, and so it's a really good culture within the company where I feel, within it, my voice is heard, and being within the team of people and experience they have, they
Yeah.
pushing me out there to see how this industry is really operating in New Zealand. So um, I can't fault the way we've got here. Sacrifices were made, um, people were lost along the way, but also thanks to being in this position I'm in now, I've been reeling a lot of those people back, like the young ones that I've had working for me before. They all keep coming and being part of Rua. Like as I move along with Rua Bioscience, they're part of it too. So a lot of the stuff that we might do here, I include them, and we use that as that thing to show our community that, hey, it's us in here, us that are local from your community, and
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
happy to bring others in to be part of the whole journey.
And with your original company, is that still running now, or are you just focusing on Raw?
Yeah, my company is still active. Like right in the beginning, when the medicinal licensing scheme began, I was quoted. I never said anything, but I was quoted by one of the founders to one of the local newspapers that I'll be one of the first ones to get a license.
Oh
Coming
yeah.
from coming from the illicit side, as a entrepreneur, I could see that there was nothing financially viable in order for me to get a license at
Yeah.
that particular time.
Yeah.
I didn't know the buyback of the product would be as low as $2 a gram.
Yeah.
And when I first came into it, like $2 a gram is probably a figure we heard 2, 3 years ago. At the beginning, it was something like anywhere from 250 to 450, depending on THC percentage. And now it's been sort of shrunken down. But knowing what I knew coming from the illicit side, and I sold cannabis when I was doing things illegally.
Yeah.
And I also have the criminal convictions to cover that. So I'm always happy to speak publicly about it because of
Well, it's a
being
big
convicted.
hit. I mean, it's a big hit. Like people, if they're offering you $2 a gram, that's like what 900 and something dollars a pound. Where in New Zealand, from memory, they pay more for pounds in Australia. It would be more than 3 grand a pound. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. When I used to sort of peddle the bottom rates, this area, which is a wholesale area,
Yeah.
was 3,200 a pound.
Yeah.
$400 an ounce. But when you started, if you were growing indoor, you know, the bottom price would be, I think it was like 5,600 for a pounder indoor, and then it'll grow and grow and grow.
Compared to the rest of the world, New Zealand, they pay quite a lot of money on the black market for weed. Like, yeah,
Yeah, when I used to pedal, there was certain price range that you would have to abide by. So I remember when I used to come in my younger days of growing, we used to try and push our stuff for a lot cheaper than what the market rate was. So the market rate could have been 250 an ounce, and we would come in at 150 just to try and move product.
yeah,
Um, but over the years, what I realized is that everyone ran out. So by the time it got to that, getting in towards Christmas, the
same
demand
here.
was so low
Yeah,
that the prices just shot straight up. So we started seeing, at that time of the year, an outdoor grown ounce would fetch as much as $450. But if you were paying that much for an outdoor ounce, it only meant that the indoor grown stuff would go up even further. So, they were hitting a premium of $600 for an ounce. And that was in that's in the market. So in the consumer market, if
yeah,
you had, friends or syndicates that you went for, they still kept their price point.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
it's not till you get to that time where low supply, high demand.
yeah,
That's when all the high prices come off. And one of the I guess my point of difference that I used to have was like I'd always be searching for faster growing genetics, and when I'd harvest my plants right at the end of February. Well, these will be the first ones that were early enough, the heads that'll be early. So I'd harvest those at the end of February, right in time for my two kids' birthday
yeah,
early in March. So, and then when you come out that early, the price is still high, and then
yeah,
you can actually manipulate the price again because at these stages it's like 450 an ounce. You're coming up with a fresh harvest, and you could dictate that price. But then I'd come in and just say something like, I remember it was like 290, and not quite
yeah,
three, and people were like, "Ah,"
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
thrive on that
yeah,
until everyone else started harvesting, and then you see the price of ounces go right down. But we've been, we're impacted by the cannabis eradication program. So when the police are doing the aerial eradication, um, uh, for instance, the last few years, 2 years, the police have not come here, and so the local market, prices change again. It comes down, which is really beneficial for the people when they're getting, an indoor ounce for $250 all year round, and
yeah,
so the benefits of, dare I say it, like the benefits of when the cops come and eradicate actually make certain parts of the market thrive more. But
yeah,
then
definitely.
when the police don't come, there's an oversupply, and so we actually start seeing good regulated prices. And what really needs to happen is, though, we need to see good quality, not just people bringing all their crap product into it and trying to get
Yeah.
that dictated price.
Like in Australia, yeah, there's a wide range of variety. You can get really shit quality stuff for about $2,000 a pound, but it'll be full of PGRs and just grown. Like for me in the past, it's obviously a cash crop, but I've never looked at it as a cash crop. It's my name, it's my reputation, it's my love. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So where one guy might put base nutrients and that's it, I wouldn't. I'd put anything in there that I can. I'll put mycelium in the soil. I'll fucking put the whole nutrient range in if I have to. You know what I mean? It's yeah, it's and when you're getting top dollar here would be about $3,000, 3 3 2 a pound. Um, it depends
Yep.
though.
Yep.
If you live up in like Queensland or something, because it's so tropical in northern Queensland, all they can't grow outdoors because everything the humidity just destroys everything. So people pay similar prices to New Zealand in northern Queensland, but down here in Victoria, New South Wales, South Australia, it's cooler. If you're doing an outdoor crop, you want to chuck them in around September-ish. Most people will be pulling, March, April, depending. Um, but yeah, it's majority of people though in Australia are doing indoor grows. I personally I love outdoor growing, and from a commercial standpoint, it's just crazy doing indoor growing. Like if you had the
Mm.
option of outdoor and indoor, outdoor would win every time, especially if you've got a glass house. Like because then you can get the best of both worlds. You can get all your little indoor gadgets and use them while getting the sun. Um, but for me, we're very much. I suppose New Zealand would be the same. There's not a lot of education, and because it is a black market here, everyone's hoarding their knowledge like they're some kind of genius, and it's like, mate, whatever you know, I could find that in a heartbeat. You know what I mean? Like I'm by nature, I'm an inquisitive person, so I didn't finish high school, but I will go out and I will sit down and I'll watch a university. You go on YouTube. Anybody watching this, you can go on YouTube right now and watch a university lecture on cannabis from America, wherever, and I'll do that. And I'll learn these cool little things that all these educated people know, plus all the trial and error stuff that I've learned over the years. Um, I'm 39. My mum caught me with my first plants when I was about 14. I'll never forget. But fuck, I had they were just bag seeds, but man, they were in veg and they were already taller than my fence, so they would have been about 7 foot tall. Hadn't even gone into stretch yet. And yeah, my mum came along, chopped them all down. And then I sat down with my mum and go, "What do you want me to do? You want me to go see a dangerous drug dealer and pay him my hard-earned money, or you want me to just grow these in my backyard and I know what's in it, you know what's in it, and we're not paying for it." So, but yeah, it's I can't. I don't know. I get excited about legalization, but I also get scared because I know that the people in charge, like I said earlier, they don't really have our best interests at heart. And similar to your issues when you started, is the same here. They don't want anyone with any criminal convictions. Um, and we're the people that have been fighting for this. We're the people that have been doing this and risking so much. You know what I mean? And I've been part. Actually, fuck it, he wouldn't care if I say it. I used to help one of my cousins We and his mates, they used to make the oil. The what's it? What's his name?
Rick Simpson, hey,
Rick Simpson
RSO.
oil. Yeah. For sick people, and they do it for free. You know what I mean? So they and you try and tell me they're not good people. You know, like
Yeah,
so. It's it's almost like we've reached the first summit, but there's just a couple more to go. You know what I mean? Yeah.
mm.
But your your involvement in Rua, obviously with your experience, would that mean that you're one of the head growers there, or you're working with the head grower there?
Yeah. When they first took me on, they took me on as a cultivation consultant, so really to assist the cultivation team at the time. And the hard case thing about it were the guys that were growing in there. One of them was a guy who I'd mentored.
Yeah.
He was then going to become my boss.
Ah,
So it's quite funny, but as humble as I am, like I just slotted straight into the ranks, and it wasn't a matter about what title you have at the
yeah.
time. It was like you've just got to do the job. So
Yeah.
worked closely with the grow team, and um, the guy who was my boss ended up moving up the ranks, and so I ended up slotting into his position as I'm called my job title is called head cultivator, but I
Yeah.
basically manage the cultivation facility for Rua BioScience and meet the outcomes of their strategy around what we should be doing here. And the beauty of that is that by meeting um, the expectations around the genetics and stuff like that, it gives us the ability to not play, but put a bit of time into doing what we should be doing as growers and doing our own little R&D, doing our
Yeah. Yeah.
stabilities and all that sort of stuff as we know. So
Yeah.
that's the beauty of being able to work here, is that there's all these opportunities. I basically have um, a building that has a lot of things that we can do with it, and I'm just showing Rua how we can untap, tap into everything, and we can do all sorts of stuff here and stuff they never really thought about, but it's cool stuff. And when we get the community involved, like next week I've got this girl who's coming that's doing a research study about how man alters genetics, for what purposes. So her reference is around cannabis, and
Yeah.
when she comes in next week with the principal of that school, we're going to be finishing a pheno hunt run. So
Yeah.
straight away she'll come in and see the different genetic expressions and
Well,
stuff there.
that's the thing, because I know we spoke the other day about tissue culture. You know, when you take a sample of the tissue, you are literally replicating that plant. When you take a clone, you're getting everything in that genetic line. So it's not going to be exactly the same. It's going to throw heaps of different phenos. And I think there's a couple of things. There's two things that I've been thinking about lately. One is we've been chasing THC for too long. Everyone wants the strongest shit, and we're not really looking at the terps. We're not looking at anything else. Um, Everyone just wants the strongest shit, and like if you really look at the classics, like what you were talking about earlier, they would have been what 10%. 10% THC level.
Low THC.
Yeah. And they were fine. They did the job. Everyone got the effects that they got, and they got to try different stuff. You've got that, and now you've got the polyhybrid scene that sort of started. And I'm not trying to knock it because I'm friends with people that do it, but they're not creating IBLs. Um, they're just chucking your F1 on your F1 and then throwing it out the door. Do you know what I mean? And
Yep.
it's not really creating a solid structure within, especially for a commercial person like you. Your crop could be throwing anything. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
when you get a Northern Lights or a White Widow or whatever, you know what you're getting. It's like buying a can of Coke. When you get a can of Coke, you know what you're getting. Um, with all these new genetics, it could be throwing anything because it's got fuck knows how many strains in there. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
they're not going to
right.
F6, F8. They're just going to F2 and just sending out the door. Yeah,
Yeah. That's I guess when the company looked at breeding and genetics across the world, the extent of wanting to go into that game meant that if you were going to stick to a true breeding program, you've got to be doing your IBLs, you're reversing, and that's you're right. Like these companies that are just crossing, just doing F1s, crossing with F1s, and then sending them out the door, and we can see that in the offerings of what's coming into the scheme. Like at the beginning they sort of made it out that medicinal cannabis was the secret strain that was different to every other bit of cannabis,
yeah,
and that it's super stable and all this kind of thing. And then in the New Zealand market, you see an offering of Gorilla Glue come in, like GG4, and
yeah,
it's throwing hermaphrodites. It's and
yeah,
even in the bottle, it's there's seed in there, so
yeah.
it's gone far from what would be determined what a medicinal scheme would be, and it's following in some sort of recce footsteps without sort of knowing by having quick um, breeding programs, or just sourcing this genetic and saying, hey, this is good and let's get this into market. So
Yeah,
this is where I work at New Zealand. In its ignorance, the founders of this never knew the bigger picture, and maybe bored of chasing a green rush, a supposed green rush based off what the black market is or was. You can tell that by following this kind of regime that it's the wrong way to set up what we should be doing properly
yeah.
for people, and with cannabis, like
Well, I'm not going to try. I'm not going to take credit for it, but I did say, who was talking about it? I can't remember his name. I was listening to one of his videos online. There's an American guy. He works in a lot. He's worked in a lot of dispensaries. Anyway, he was saying that the terpene profiles, the modern breeds now, are literally within 5 terpenes.
mm,
You
mm,
know, we have
mm,
hundreds of terpenes, and terpenes aren't just flavors; they're effects
yeah,
to your body. You know what I mean? And we're throwing in the bin so many different things that we know nothing about just because so and so's made the new fruity gassy thing, and everyone loves that. Or so I'm going to take this popular one and get that popular one, chuck them together, and like you said, F1 on F1, and they're gone. um, I think we're fortunate that we live in the time where we have legalization. We 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 don't just need to go off phenotypes. We can go on genotypes, chemotypes. You know what I mean? We can really understand what's going on in the plant, but it just depends if the people want to spend that time and money on it. You know what I mean?
yeah. It's funny because the industry is thick things findable. So all those things you're talking about is what the industry needs, but no one wants to throw the money into doing all that. They want to just keep following the same narrative of high THC, and and coming from all of us that have come from the illicit side, we never knew what high THC was in those days because we never had the ability to measure it.
Yeah.
And we were, I think I can speak for the majority of people, and a lot of us were impressed with flavonoids, and we probably didn't even know what terpenes were at that time. But
No.
all those little things that were all part of that, whether it was of that genetic makeup of that strain, is what we saw was shit. This is valuable. Oh man, this works. Oh yeah, this is yummy.
Yeah.
Um, and that's what we related to. And, and now we have an industry that doesn't hear all that when it's trying to figure out dictated by getting his patients chasing high THC. We're not doing ourselves a favor and trying to work towards what people actually want. We're chasing a demand, a high
Yeah,
THC demand.
yeah, yeah. And look, I think like there's been so many generations of weed from land race to your heirlooms to your hybrids. Now we're in the polyhybrids. If they don't do something right soon, and I'm not saying that there isn't a place for these polyhybrids, there is. But if someone and fortunately there are people out there preserving strains, but if there isn't a change up soon, and I think it's also breeders following what they think people want.
Mm,
You know what I mean? Like, what's the cool thing? But
mm,
yeah, I think that if we don't change something up soon, I don't know what the next generation is going to be. You know,
mm,
I don't think even using straight like when you get to the next level of polyhybrid, it's going to be like, okay, what the fuck's a strain then? You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Gone right away from what it was. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I mean, you don't need. There's a lot of young people out there that are like, oh, I want to smoke that 30%. It's like, bro, if you got a job or you got a family and you're smoking 30% THC, you get nothing done. Like for me, I'm happy, and I know other growers that aren't that don't chase high THC weed, and they've never had a complaint. Like if you put your love and care into a plant, and you got a really nice end product, I've never had anyone turn around and go, "Oh, bro, that was shit." You know what I mean?
Mm, mm, mm,
Yeah,
mm.
but yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, well, so over I don't know. I'll cut this out if we can't talk about it. But I remember
Yeah.
you talking about that the cannabis cup thing the other day. Did you want to talk about that, or is
Yeah,
that a
yeah, we
hush
can talk
hush
about
thing?
that.
Yeah, yeah,
No, I think I can keep within. Yeah, everything's open.
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, because we got the. I think we got the Mardi Gras. So we got the Mardi Gras over here in Nimbin,
Yep.
and they have their competitions. I've never been to Nimbin. Fuck, I should probably make my way up there one day. But yeah, so tell us about the one you guys got over there.
So just last
Oh wait, hang on, it's cut out. Hang on, I'll just wait for your network to get.
year was uh re-released. It's done in secrecy, um, where
Hang
people
on,
send in their offerings.
and it just cut out. I missed the whole start of that. Sorry, can
Okay,
you
okay,
start that again? Yeah, yeah,
yep, yep.
yeah.
So it's just been a remake of an older style competition that's been held in New Zealand since the 70s. And back in the 70s and that, or I should say, back when I was a child, I remember the first time I ever saw one of the Cannabis Cup calendars because they used to release a a calendar every year, and it was in the back of a workshop in the toilet behind the door.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah,
but in the smoko room of this workshop was all titty pictures and Playboy pictures, but
yeah,
this cannabis one was hidden behind the door in the toilet.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
I remember seeing it was New Zealand Bud of the Year, and at that time the main winner was called Kaitaia Fire. So that was one of the strains in the 80s that I guess New Zealand was coming up with strains that had adapted to New Zealand, um, conditions and that. So, but cutting a long story short, that Cannabis Cup ended. It was run by Normal, so the what is it? The National Organization for the Reformed Marijuana Laws. Um,
yeah.
New Zealand Normal. They ran this competition for years, and then all of a sudden it stopped. And one of the local guys who's been, I guess, trying to push the narrative of different ways of safer cannabis consumption through his selling of like e-nails um and ruby twist vaporizers and stuff like that, came up with the idea of like, why don't we bring together the cannabis culture out there and give them a chance to compete again, and show that besides the, the fuckery that
Yeah.
we go through as a country with having a legal plant and then we're still arresting people, is show the wares, like show the real culture of New Zealand and what real New Zealand grown cannabis is about, compared to the imported offerings of the medicinal cannabis scheme. Trying to, I think, push that narrative that our people, meaning our everyone that can grow, who's grown at home, is doing a better job than what's been offered to us in a legal medicinal scheme.
Yeah.
So it's shrouded with secrecy because we have to make sure that police don't try and intercept it and whatnot. But the venue, I probably can't even mention the venue. But the venue was brought into the picture because it was pushing cannabis education. So we go to this particular venue, come together, but in the weeks leading up, all the entries are sent out to the judges who are judging from home over 3 weeks, so that you're not trying to do it on the night and just get wasted. We,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can't even do
Huh.
a proper vote.
Yeah.
And on the night, those people that put those entries can come in. It's also open to I'd say a private group of the cannabis culture to come in and be part of. And then the next day, they open the doors to that same venue for people to come in and learn about what just happened. And they'll also have vendors there that are selling things. So you'd see glassware, you would see vaporizers, you'd see different guys selling like Stealth Garden from Australia with their,
Oh yeah.
the last one. So and giving away T-shirts and giving away stuff. So you have this culture of people who are pro cannabis that actually are connoisseurs of it, boutique growers that want to see what the offerings are, that want to maybe have a chance to enter it and then come out with a prize at the end.
Yeah.
And our company, E3C, or East Coast Cannabis Company, we were asked to be one of the sponsors last year, and we're a sponsor again this year. And that's it. I guess it's just pushing that awareness out there that there is still a cannabis culture out there that's still doing what it does, and it's not illegality, but still doing what it's doing for the culture. It's not it's
Yeah.
not using the prohibition against it to stay hidden. Um,
And that's
but at
a
this,
pattern I've seen all over the world in every country. Every person I talk to, they're not just trying to say, "Hey, I'm pushing a product." They're not just promoting a culture. They're, what's the word? Almost like activists. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And
yes,
not just for cannabis as well. I've a lot of people that are big in the cannabis industry are very socially aware people. You know what I mean? And they're pushing for a lot of different things, which is awesome.
yes, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the great thing about this event too, is that you see the cannabis community come together. So you've got your patients coming, you've got some of your doctors or your white collar um, drug dealers, as I
Yeah.
mentioned before, coming and being part of it too. You've got your business that supply cultivation supplies to the legal and the illicit side being part
Yeah.
of it, and then you see the average person coming in from from I shouldn't say the average person from the street, but people within that cannabis culture that are coming in, and then you see that there's actually patients in there that are looking for, like, is this going to help me, because
Yeah.
I'm looking
Yeah.
towards medicinal cannabis and I don't like what the offerings are. So like, is this, and they're educating themselves at the same time. The
Yeah.
venue is the House of Cannabis Education in New Zealand at the moment, and the host of it, with all his credit, I don't want to say his name, um, not to advertise who he is, but just we'll keep our event a secret as long as we can. But I guess his being an activist coming from the states, being an activist in New Zealand, and in this legal scene, pushing against the boundaries that are stopping us from really moving forward in cannabis in New Zealand. So, all hats off to him. But together, the network, we make it work, and we're trying to be as safe as possible, but still keep also fighting for cannabis from everyone's perspective. Like there's too many segregated groups with hemp on one. Then you've just got people that want to do it personally, and then you've got people that just want to heal themselves without persecution. So trying to bring it all together. Um, and when I went away from there last year, I met a green fairy making edibles that could help my wife, who's been in pain for the last 2 years, and
Oh, that's
is on
awesome.
high opiates like tramadol and stuff like that. So she doesn't do any sort of drugs.
Yeah.
She's not anti-cannabis. She's had to put up with my shit for
Yeah.
decades. Um,
This is
but
the
she
woman's
doesn't
just
do drugs, and for me to find yeah, for me to find her something that helped with the pain in the form of a 7 milligram gummy, um, changed her mind. But also,
yeah.
right now in our country, we're dealing with roadside drug testing and um, uh, uneducated business sector that doesn't know how to act with medicinal cannabis patients within its ranks. So we've got that real uneducated shit happening in New Zealand right now too, which doesn't help people like my missus who are fucking 99.99,000% fucking anti-cannabis or anti-drugs,
Yeah. Yeah.
who's
Yeah.
finding relief in a gummy to help her sleep without pain. Yeah, so we live in an
Yeah.
ironic world.
Yeah. It's crazy. Like I've look, last October I had a bad workplace injury on my back, and they've first thing they do is they're like, oh, here, take some codeine. Oh, here, take this, take that, and it's really gotten to the point now where I've actually had to go get blood tests and everything because the amount of medication that they've given me is making my liver play up. You know what I mean? Where you know
Yep.
I've got to, unfortunately, because I don't know what they call it in New Zealand, but it's called um, work cover in Australia. Unfortunately, I have to go along with that and do everything that I can do on paper, which I am. I've torn what. Long story short, I've torn my S1 disc and a few other nasty things. But yeah, it's just amazing that you can get that same relief from a plant. Um, and even I think in was it America they were using OG Kush to get people off hard drugs. Um, it's just yeah, I get excited in the times that we live in, but then I also get depressed because I'm like, fuck, this is going to take a long time. But when they get it right, it's going to be good. Um, but yeah,
Yeah, I think sorry for cutting you off. I think that we as people that have used cannabis have the intellectual property and know-how and experience to be able to take all our stories forward to help change that narrative of cannabis that's hindering it all from moving forward.
yeah,
And a lot of people, they just that I suppose need to stand up. The public, the ones that are the public faces of our countries that are using it, they need to stand up and just say, "Hey, I'm taking cannabis. It's not making me psychotic or have schizophrenia. It's not
no,
killing me, and I'm
and
okay."
in Australia we got this. Well, I know for a fact in New Zealand they just smoke the cannabis. In Australia we put tobacco in it.
Mm, mm,
Now, until I started hanging around with a few Kiwis, actually one of them passed away. Rest in peace, Delane. He turned around to me one day. He's Maori. Turned around to me. He's like, hey bro, why are you tainting the natural mystic? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, why are you tainting the natural? And I thought about it, and I thought, oh, because I cough my lungs out. You know what I mean? It's harsh, blah blah. And he's like, man, just give it a go for a while. You know what I mean? And yeah, I stopped using tobacco. And yeah, I found out I was addicted to smoking the tobacco, not the weed.
Yeah, yeah,
Weed is not addictive. When people say that they're addicted to weed, I think it's more of a psychological thing. Do you know what I mean? Or maybe the ritual of doing it. But so for you, in the future, do you have any plans to expand your company, or are you more focusing on Rua, or
both really.
yeah,
Yeah, my journey is still a huge one in front of me. You know, Rua BioScience has its trajectory it wants to go on, but like my vision for our area is way bigger. And so when I say that, like my original intentions were to, I guess, build my own company that cultivated, and then we got a product into a dispensary. And
yeah,
to get there, one of the things I've been proactive about is educating so that we can change the narrative and get, whether it's decrim across the line, whether it's legalization across the line, whether it's personal use across the line. So, in my journey, I still got to fight for everybody else's thing before I can get what I want. Ultimately, by the time what I want, everybody should have the ability to grow their own. So it's not, what
yeah,
I look at is it's not a something that competes against what I want, because all I want to do is bring the East Coast brand that we have here of cannabis into a legal market. Um, I'm fighting for this for my people. Like I had a good run, I think it was when I started coming out of the shadows, so I was only 25 years into it, and I had a good run. And when this industry started, and I started with Rua BioScience, was really to fight for our people's involvement in it. And when I say our people, I mean like you and me, like everybody that's been involved with cannabis. I mean my people here too, and now um, our persecution against us for growing cannabis for so many decades. So,
yeah,
I'm fighting for it for the bigger cause, and um, that's where I'll go. So with my own company, it'll come into fruition when it comes in. Right now, I do what I can to keep pushing the narrative for Rua, as well as guide them into what I think, where we should be going, and trying to bring those I guess those morals and values and etiquette that why I've come into this, trying to bring that into their mindset too, and so that they're not delusional about chasing it for money, or chasing
yeah,
it for this purpose, or getting tied up in just dreams and aspirations, because what we're doing is really for the greater of everybody. It's not for the greater of our pocket, and that's how it should
yeah,
be. It's we're charitable people, like you mentioned, and
yeah,
we'll give the shirt off our back. So you know, if my hair's going grey and my teeth are falling out during all this, then at the end of the day, my effort that I put into it is going to be worth the sacrifice of all that stuff, because no one else is getting up and speaking like how I'm speaking back here.
yeah,
Everyone's still hiding in the shadows. The legacy guys, they won't come out of the shadows because they know they can't trust our government. And
yeah,
so with people like me that's already been arrested, that have convictions, that already made this way into this industry when they said they wouldn't take people like me, I feel that I can still carry the voice of everybody to try and find the way forward. And to be honest, not everybody's going to get what they want. Like people say to me, I still want to be able to have a mean indoor grow and still make top dollar illicitly without paying the government. And it's like, yeah, sure. Yeah, I gave up that ability to do that by putting the bullseye on my forehead when I came out
yeah,
into the shadows, But all I see for it now is like everybody wants something, and if we continue to do nothing, we're just gonna carry on. going nowhere. So that's my thing in it. You know, like I'm here for the long term. I think when was it in fuck 2025? You know, marked like 30 years of my involvement with cannabis, and it just keeps ticking along. You know, from a
Yeah,
legacy illegal side to now a legal side. We're
yeah, yeah,
fighting for both, trying to bring us
yeah.
all together. Yeah, but also to not be disillusioned by the bullshit out there, because the legal industry likes to dictate how they think everything should run.
Yeah, and I think look, where the government can make money is where they're going to favor, I reckon, for a while. But yeah, I ideally, and you can tell who's legitimate and who's not when people are fighting for home growers
Mm, mm.
because there's no money to be made there.
It's
Do
no
you know
money,
what I
there's no
mean?
competition.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, um, yeah, it's I think it's Canada, America, places like that. You can grow at home. In Australia, I think I could be wrong. It's been a while because I helped consult a couple of medical places. Uh, but initially, there was a research license, and it was affordable. It was about 4 grand, 5 grand a year. I think they've combined them now. So the cultivation, manufacturing, and research, and it's like 25 grand a year. So if I wanted to, like, I was thinking, oh wow, I could get a research license, start my own genetics, and just keep going and going and going until recreational's legal, and then I've got this massive variety of genetics. Do you know what I mean? Unfortunately, you know, yeah, it's just 25 grand a year, which is not feasible. And obviously, you're not going to be growing any weed at home and selling it with the government knocking on your door, auditing you. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So it's one or the other. Not saying I'm doing either. And yeah, it's tough. And I was even talking to people in Thailand. The government over there wanted like 5 grand a license in Thailand.
Mm.
Now, for you or me, that's not too bad. That's
Mm.
pretty good. But for a Thai person, that's like a house. You
Yep.
know what I mean? Like it's a lot of money. Um, so yeah, there's a lot of places gouging. I'll be very. I want to follow Germany because I feel like Germany's getting it right.
Yep.
So hopefully they do it right. Um, but yeah, there's long ways to go. We, I've got people will say in the legacy market or whatever, holding out for recreational, but until we get medical completely sorted out, I don't think the government's going to even entertain recreational.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's the same in our country, and I blame it all to the lack of education. You know, you start a scheme. Okay, now we've demonized it for all these decades. We'll send you to jail for it if we catch you with it, but it's okay if you invest into our scheme. They didn't even do that, you know. So when they've got that kind of shit carrying on, and you're trying to take a regulatory model to them with bylaws and everything on how a system can work, they're they're like a bunch of dumb. I'd say like a bunch of dumb kids that can't understand what you're trying to say to them, because their interpretation of it is bad, bad, bad. So,
yeah,
like one of the things we've got to start doing is, and I sort of mentioned it before, is like people have just got to stand up and say, hey, you know, it's not killing me. You know, it's not causing psychosis. It's not causing schizophrenia. Um, yes, people with mental illnesses should not be taking high THC, but
yeah,
there may be other minor cannabinoids or flavonoids or terpenes that can assist in their recovery. No one's standing up right now and saying how much cannabis is helping for PTSD with our, return service veterans and stuff
yeah,
like that.
yeah, yeah,
And yet, us that still walk in the world of the black market or legacy industry, we are still getting all that information every day on what's helping people, what
Yeah,
strains, whether it's, like Blue Dream. I'm hearing about it all the time in New Zealand. Blue Dream is helping for PTSD. But
yeah,
when I take that to the industry, they're going, oh, it's 16%. It can't sell. It's not. It's too low THC, and that's where I hammer them and I say, you know, yes, I come from the market. Yes, I want to see, but this is stupid when we're not giving patients what they need. We're chasing high THC, but
yeah, yeah,
that's the reality of the ignorance of what an industry that's had no interaction with cannabis before and all of a sudden chase it for the money, that shows
yeah.
their ignorance.
Well, for me, when I was younger, I don't know if it was true or not, but anyway, the doctor said I had ADD. And I was just a hyper kid, you know what I mean? I had a lot of energy. I didn't pay attention, you know what I mean? As soon as I started smoking. Look, I probably would have been about 13 when I first tried cannabis, but I regularly smoked it maybe when I was about 15, 16, around then,
Yep,
sort of daily.
yep, yep.
That's when I started to realize, oh shit, this is helping me focus. This is helping me concentrate. With Rua, I noticed you guys had your scholarship program. Has that been going for long?
Yeah, yeah, that's been going for a few years. So um, Rua has people that put into that program that actually help the young people in this area get out of here and get into something, whether it's trying to take them to universities or something to look outside the square.
Yeah,
A lot of these young people here will never get the chance to get out of here. And by offering them a chance to, whether it's to go to politics or whether you go into further training or into certain employment,
yeah,
stuff like that, university, um, Rua wants to be the ones to help them get out to find it. And so we hear of a lot of these kids here, their dreams and aspirations are really small of what they want to do, and it's only based on what they see. And when they actually go out there, like the majority of them that go further, it's just a testament on how much that particular program needs to see these other out there. Our area is so remote that unless you came from a really good family that were willing to send you out of here to be educated, a lot of our young people they get stuck here unless they take those moves themselves.
yeah.
And so, yeah, that program's been running for a while. And the other program Rua has is called a Compassionate Access Program, which again work with key investors that have donated into that fund to be able to get medicinal cannabis products um, for certain patients that need it, and able to cover a script for so long
I've
to
seen
aid in
that.
their recovery. So
Yeah,
I remember at one stage, I think there might be about 30. I'm not up to date with how many patients, but the last time I looked, I think it was 30, around 35, and I know they want to grow that to like 300. And we have silent people that have invested in that to support a patient. This is just some of the good stuff that people are doing out there in New Zealand that want to help support that program, because the medicinal cannabis scheme is quite expensive,
yeah, yeah,
and we're investing in for your people. But we've always got, from what I see, there's always people who need it more out there. And so I know the lady that deals with this at Rua is always actively looking for people that want to support, trying to bring on another person.
yeah,
And but it's a great scheme. In my world, I'd love it to be that we grow something here and it goes out to those people.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah,
or put into our own sort of dispensary or clinic here in our area that our people can service for a very cheap cost. Like I wish my people could pay $5 a
Yeah, if you can cut the middleman out.
get there.
Yeah, if you can cut the middleman out, you can definitely save a lot of money. I know there's a company in Australia called Curo. I think it's Curo. And they've blown everyone in the market away with their pricing. Something like that was the one that was no, they're about $80 for about 15 grams, and the quality is really good. I just don't know how it's sustainable for them. But yeah, it's. I think I don't know. I'm just hoping that they've got the right intentions for the consumer, and they're just hanging in there for something to happen. But unless you go like you're
Yeah,
saying, grow to dispensary, there's a lot of costs in between. And when you grow the weed, you have to treat it, don't you? You were saying you have to
yeah,
send it to Australia.
yeah. Got to send it to Australia to be radiated and then sent back to New Zealand. But not very many people are doing that. Like sending it to Oz. If you're going to send it to Oz, you might as well try sell it in Oz.
But yeah, but the thing is though, like, um, call me stupid. Why are we radiating weed?
Exactly.
Like,
Exactly. It's a backward step, but it comes back to giving patients a safe product that's got no microbes. And when you look at it, irradiated cannabis is only suited for the immunocompromised patients that would really get sick. And
yeah,
that's
yeah,
only, very small percentage of
yeah,
medicinal cannabis patients out there. And so it seems stupid that you're offering people the worst way to give them cannabis. Like we're going to radiate
yeah,
it, we're going to destroy the terpenes, the flavonoid profile, we're
everything.
going to over dry it. The moisture content's going to be so low that we've stripped all the water and terpenes out of it, and
Yeah,
this is a safe product. It seems backwards, that
yeah,
we're
yeah,
giving them the worst offering of a cannabis product to aid our most sickest patients. But
yeah. And when you say immune
someone
problems,
like you or me,
yeah,
yeah,
like, do
carry
you
on,
mean
carry on.
like people with like HIV and stuff like that, like,
I think
or
it's
cancer
more like those
patients?
ones that they would have more problems. Like if it was an inhalation, that it has to be so super clean that it can't cause them any problems. In their immunization, well, in their immune system.
Immune
Jeez,
system,
tongue
yeah,
tied.
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
And what
yeah,
it does that get rid of like trace elements of like mold spores or shit like that?
yeah, just taking away any ability to have microbes or mold spores or botrytis that could
Yeah,
essentially harm them when they're consuming it. So that's New Zealand's set up with that primarily, and they think that's the answer. But it's and with the
it's
regulations,
nasty.
it's one of the easier ways to get product into New Zealand.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
yeah, so it's quite silly. And when I think of it, you've got to subject your cannabis to the worst treatment for the most sickest people, and then
yeah,
everybody else shouldn't have to have cannabis that's been treated that bad. Surely with cannabis that's been grown and it's still got some terpenes and flavonoids,
yeah,
surely that's beneficial for people that are not immunocompromised in a sense.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
I often think this industry is a bit backwards like that when our most sickest people we're offering them the poorest product, and yet the the average patient that just may have that anxiety or whatever, they can in our country they can have what's called spec, which is basically non-irradiated, may contain a little bit of mold.
yeah,
That's fine to drink as a cup of tea, but no one drinks as tea in New Zealand. Like they say T-spec, but even the doctors that prescribe it don't know the difference between T-spec and irradiated. It's just a product to them, and that product can carry a different value because it's been sent to Oz, and now it's come back with an extra price on top of it. So it's a
So
it's a stupid
it's
thing we're going
it's
through.
funny because like if I go outdoor, I just coincidentally have this here. I haven't been growing outdoors. No, I'll get I'll just get hydrogen peroxide.
Mm,
Either 3% or 6%, and so I think with 6%, I'll dilute like 20 liters. Maybe I'll put like 200 mils of this. Give it a quick wash. Then I'll put it in another bath with baking soda and lemon to neutralize the
yes.
peroxide, and then I'll put it in another bath with just normal water, and that gets rid of everything. Surprisingly, it doesn't affect the terpenes
Mm,
because it's such a low dose of peroxide. There's got to be another way to do it, or even like you said, like okay, cool. There are people that do need it. That should be an option. It shouldn't be the completely across the board.
yeah.
Um,
Well, the way that you're talking about cleaning, I remember back in the day, Jorge,
Jorge Cervantes.
yeah, he preached that, bud wash, doing that process, and he teach you
Yeah,
the way how if you do it like this, you're not knocking the trichomes off and stuff like that, cleaning your product. Us as an industry, when I bring up stuff like that, I look, go, look, I'm going back to a guru now, cannabis cultivation guru who's made this practice. Oh no, we can't accept that. But we have it's looking at what's called peracetic acid, or PAA, which is
yeah,
basically vinegar. And
yeah,
in his process of cleaning his plants up at the end, he'll spray the PAA on the plant to kill any microbes on the surface of the flower.
yeah,
And so when we're thinking of that, and we're thinking of Jorge's way, it's like, which is the better? Now it doesn't need to be a combination of both. Do we need to implement Jorge's way right at the end, like what he implemented this misting all throughout the growing, so every week it's misting a cover of stuff that kills the microbes.
yeah, yeah,
It's all in our world, it's all new, but like where we come from, it's not new. So it's like we're trying to the industry's trying to read the wheel when our gurus, conservation gurus, like proven these methods throughout the decades that we've been
yeah.
involved. So I
I've got a
try and keep
video.
pushing the hydrogen peroxide.
Yeah, I've got a video on my Instagram showing what the water looks like after a wash, and I'm telling you, it is brown. The water, you can see little specks of insect poo. There's spiders.
Yep.
There's heaps of dirt. It's just filth. Um, and I was thinking, like, how can a commercial business, how can it be viable? It could be either that way that you were saying, or if they had like a long trough of water, not deep, and they had some kind of conveyor belt or hook system where you just chuck a branch on and it drags it through, drops it to the next trough,
Mm,
drops it to the next trough, something like that. People say, "Oh no, it's not viable." It is. They just haven't done it yet. Um,
yeah, that's right.
yeah,
That's right.
but yeah, it's interesting. I always somehow Jorge always gets in every one of my videos. He's my number one. When I was young, I I explained to people Jorge back in the day when he made those videos, his old school ones. They were like a taste tester. They're like, okay, this is this, this is that. And for a young grower that watches that, they're like, oh shit, I didn't know that. And then you can go off and do your own research and everything. You know what I mean? So I was fortunate enough. I'm old
Mm,
enough. I used all the HPS slides, MH slides. I used what those giant fluoro ones. Can't remember the names. I've got to use them all. But now It's funny when you're talking about helicopters. The police flying helicopters earlier. Now technology's moved that far. You don't even need to worry about it. You know, you got LEDs that don't produce hardly any heat. You got filters that kill nearly all the smell. It's crazy how far technology's come.
Mm.
But yeah, I think I reckon we've got enough here. I'm definitely going to get you back for another one. I really enjoyed
Oh,
having a
cool.
chat. Yeah.
Nah, it's cool. It's been good talking to you. You know, like we're
Yeah,
like-minded, so there's great
exactly.
stuff coming out.
Yeah. Um, yeah. If there's anything you wanted to
It's
promote,
hard because we're just freezing again and again, eh?
oh yeah. Don't worry, I'll edit it all up. But actually, I think you're freezing again. Hang on, I can hear you, but I can't. Your picture's frozen. Oh wait, no, you're back.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was an absolute pleasure. And like I said a minute ago, I don't know if it was frozen or not. Definitely going to get you back. Maybe I'll get you. I'll think of a topic for you that you could teach people on, because I'm sure you've got a lot of knowledge. And yeah, it's just. Look, I said it at the start, and I'll say it again. I'm not saying this because my daughter's part Māori. It's amazing to see a group of Indigenous people standing on their own, and not just that, giving back to their people as well. So it's
Yep.
you guys are doing an amazing job.
Oh, thank you for that. That's how we are, and I hope that everyone you talk to has got such great uniqueness to show everybody that it's not all corporate and we're not all drug dealers.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, we're definitely going to keep in touch anyway. So I'll definitely be talking to you soon.
Okay, then. No, awesome. Thank you for your time and your patience with the internet.
All good.
Keep in touch.
All good. All right.
Awesome, Thank you.
Thank you.